Alright, we have now created the walls for the floor plan. I'm going to show you in this video how to go ahead and do the roof and the flooring for this. Okay. So when we are doing, let's start with the floor. What we're going to do is we're going to start in the architecture tab just like before, and you are going to go find the floor button. When you have your screen maximized, it's going to look a little bit different, but the flooring is going to be right under the build section here. Okay, and actually I probably don't need this right now, so I'm going to maximize that screen. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, so with the floor, we're just using the architectural flooring as well. So I'm going to click on the floor, and it's going to open up the Modify Create Floor tab right over here. Okay, if you have something already open, you have to make sure that you're hitting the escape button a few times on your keyboard to make sure that you're closing out of whatever you're doing that is already open. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do the floor. I'm going to start by using the boundary line. Okay, this is going to take a couple of different other steps as well, mainly because we have some crossing that's occurring on the outer parts of my wall. And so this is just a very simple floor that's going to go throughout the whole house. Normally when you're doing flooring, right, so what we're going to choose here is a wood truss joist with the wood finish. Okay. Usually when you're doing your flooring, your wood flooring isn't going underneath all your walls. We're going to just simplify it for our purposes here. Normally you're going to have like your subfloor go throughout the house, and then your flooring's going right up to the wall. So this is very oversimplifying it. We're just going to go around the outside and just say the whole floor is done. But in general, this isn't really how you would do flooring when you're doing construction here. Okay, so with the boundary line selected, I'm going to go ahead and click on the walls. So I'm going to start. Let's start all the way on the left here. Now, because our flooring doesn't go under our walls, right? I want it on the inner wall here, and so I'm going to kind of click my way around. Notice this line is going to go past, but that's okay. We're going to fix that a little bit later. So I'm just going to keep kind of going around the outside. Okay, and I'm going to click all of the outer walls. Okay, so now I have this pink or purple line that goes around the outside, and now I cannot finish this because I have my boundary lines are crossing over each other. So I got to get rid of those. Okay, now the tool you need is this Trim Extend to Corner tool. So after you're done with that, I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to be clicking on the lines that I want to keep. Okay, so I want to keep this part of the line. I want to keep this part of the line, and I'm trimming out this. So I'm going to click on the top part that I want to keep. Then I'm clicking on this line that I want to keep, and notice it trims that out here. I'm going to work my way around, so I want to keep here and get rid of this part. So I'm going to click on that part. I want to keep this top part, and then it's going to trim that out for me. As I go around, the only other part that's going to cross over is down here, so I can click on the part I want to keep, and then the other part I want to keep, and then it trims that out for me. So that's it for flooring. When I hit the check mark, it's going to create that floor. Notice that it has like the lines down here. That's my wood floor finish. Now one of the things that you can do is check it out in 3D. Now I have not opened up my 3D view yet. I'm going to actually hide my ceiling plans here because I don't want to get in there. So what I can do to see it in 3D, I can hit the View button, and I'm going to click this house that says Default 3D View, and that's going to show me my house in 3D and what I have so far. You can see the flooring in there. Alright, it's black and white right now, it's just a wireframe. So what I really want to do is, if I want to make it look realistic or shade it, right? So if I do shading, you can see that that's all shaded in. You can go all the way to realistic to try to make it look realistic. But as you can already see just by my mouse getting that thinking circle that pops up, it does take the computer a lot more to process it. So as you get bigger and bigger spaces and it has to process more information on realistic, you might not actually want that because it's going to slow things down a bit. So if you do shaded, you can kind of get the feel of what it looks like without too much processing happening. Okay, So that's your floor. Now the other way you can do your floor, and so let me go back into my floor plan over here, so level 1. If I go ahead and delete my floor, so I just clicked on it and pressed the delete button. I could also do my floor by using the line tool. Okay, the line tool is right here. So instead of doing boundary lines, I'm just doing the line tool. And I can actually just draw the boundary myself. The only problem that you might have is you might misclick and then cause like little gaps in your floor in places if you go too fast. So if I'm going kind of quick here, alright, I'm just going around. So without doing any trimming now caused by the boundary line, I just went and drew my own, changed, make sure my property says wood finish here, hit the check mark, and there's my floor. So I don't have to cut anything out that way. It saves me one step there, but it does make it so it's possible that you can create or have a mistake somewhere in there. So you can see it's the same exact way. Now, what you're going to notice is if you look at your walls here, right, they're floating, right? Normally, though, we're going to be having some foundation underneath, so you don't need to worry about them floating. That's just because our floor, we're keeping it on the inside. Okay. Alright, so that's your flooring. Now, the next thing you need to think about is your roof. Okay, so if I go on, I can go on to level 1 or level 2. So if I look at it from an elevation view, so this looks at your house from the side. So let's say I want to look at it from the north. We can see level 1 is at 0. Level 2 is at 10. This is because I made my walls at 10 feet. And so that, because I made them right away at 10 feet, it dropped that down. So that might not necessarily be 10. If you ever want to change the level, I can always click in there and change it. So you can change the height. I can also change my wall height by clicking on my wall and either typing in the height I want, typing in the height I want here, or I can just say I want to connect it up to level 2. So the walls are just going to go all the way up to that level and connect. So there's a couple different options you have with the walls as well. But this is looking at it from the north. Okay, and so what I want to do is put the roof on at level 2. So that's my roof level. So over here in my floor plan, if I go to level 2, what you should see is the grayed out walls from level 1 because they are going up to level 2. If your walls don't show up here, it's probably because they're not going up to the right height. Okay? Because mine is going up to that level, I can now click on my roofing tool and it looks very similar to the floor. Okay, so here I have my boundary line selected, so I can do my walls. So here's like where I want my roof to go to. Okay, or I can do what I did with the floor as well and use the line tool. Okay, so I'm just going to use the boundary line. If you have like just like a rectangle shaped floor plan, it's a lot easier. But I'm going to go ahead and click my boundary line. And what you're going to notice here is this little triangle. That's your slope. It's at 9/12. Okay, so every 9 feet it goes up a foot. Okay, your overhang is up here, and this defines the slope. So what I'm talking about when I say it defines the slope is that your roof is going to be sloping up from that wall. Okay, if I uncheck this, it's going to be flat there, and so basically what happens is you're going to have those gable ends there. So the wall has to go all the way up to the roof, not the roof coming down to where the wall is and then sloping up. I can kind of show you what that looks like when you change those in just a second. Alright. So one of the things that you want with your roof though, so I'm going to actually hit the modify button and delete this line, and then click back on the boundary line. I'm going to have like a 2-foot overhang, so I'm going to change this overhang to 2 feet. So it's going to overhang my wall by 2 feet. So my roof's going to actually come out here by 2 feet. So when I go to this boundary line here, so I got to make sure my line tool is not selected. Let's see here. It's still selected. I'm going to just escape out and redo this. So if you ever get stuck on something, just do this. Go back into my roof and it's going to default back to boundary. Oh, I think I didn't have my pick wall selected. That's my problem. I'm going to change the roof type to asphalt shingles. Alright, we're going to have a 2-foot overhang, and I'm just going to let every wall define my slope. So I'm going to click on each outside wall. So I'm just going to kind of go around here and watch when this crosses over. It's going to kind of fix itself. Well, maybe it's not, so we'll have to fix that. So I'm just going around and clicking on all that part. Okay, so just like before, when we had the problem with the flooring where it crosses over, we're going to go back to that trim tool and we're going to go trim out the pieces I don't want, right? So I'm clicking on the part I want, click on the part I want, and it's going to trim out those other pieces. So I'm just clicking using this trim tool. Okay. Now notice the slope is defined on each of these walls, so each of the walls are going to slope up to the top of my roof. So when I hit that check mark, it's going to ask, do you want to attach the walls to the roof? And of course you want to attach it because otherwise you're going to have a gap or a floating roof. Okay, so I'm going to hit attach. I'm going to go to my 3D view because I can see my roof has been created, and that is what the roof's going to look like with all the sides sloping. Okay, so you see how each side is sloping up to the top of the roof, and that's what it means when it's when you have that little symbol. Now if I go back into it and I don't like where a certain slope is, so let's say I don't want this to have a slope, what I can do is with the modify button selected, I can click on that line and I can change that right here. I can either, like see how it says defines roof slope, I can uncheck that here or here, and I can see what that looks like when I complete my, the roof. So now I have a gable end over here. See how it does not define the slope. It's not sloping back up like everything else is. And so it's going to give you a different style roof according to how you click, right? So over here, I can do the same thing on these ends as well and make those gable ends if I wanted to as well. Now, if it's something where it's not working, it'll give you an error. So I don't know if I can make it give me an error on this, but maybe I select those two. I don't want to define the slope there. Hit the check mark. You can see how that changes how your roof looks. Okay, so it's up to you how you want that roof to look. These are gable ends. That's what those are called. And so, you know, the type of roof that you choose does give you a big feel on how, like what you want your house to look like. So playing around with that, it's a kind of a neat thing to give you different kind of looks for a house. Okay, but that's your roof. So notice with mine right now we're on shaded. If you do like constant color, constant, that's not gonna do it. If you do realistic, you'll see the actual shingles that are on there. Okay, so it's going to give you a feel for what the roof's going to actually look like with that. Okay. Now the next video I'm going to talk about doors, components, and windows. So you can go ahead and check that out in the next video.